So the real reason that we build our own author website that we can control and make it good looking is so that we can put out content that attracts readers. Um, what that means is you need to be writing articles that people actually find. And so I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas. It's a lot easier for nonfiction books because you already have topics that people want to find out about. It's pretty easy to do educational things because people get on Google and they ask, like, how do I do this? How do I be happy? How do I have relationships? So if you're providing answers, it's much easier to grow your platform, even though there's a lot more competition. But if you're doing fiction and you're writing stories, it's hard to write those kind of educational posts. You need to write other forms of content that readers will still find when they're looking for things. And like we talked about keywords earlier, so that's kind of the same thing. If you're looking to attract writers of fantasy novels, they may be searching for 2015 best fantasy novels. So you need to be writing posts like that. Or they're going to be searching for best selling books by name. So if I want to write something that's kind of like Twilight, Twilight's pretty old now, so people wouldn't be searching for it. But I could pick, 10 books that are similar to Twilight that are best selling that I think readers will be searching for because those books are traditionally published. They have much bigger marketing powers. So readers will know about those books and then they'll get on Google and they'll search for book reviews or they'll search for feedback or something. So you can be writing book reviews about those books that are more well known and you'll kind of hack the same marketing funnel because maybe some giant book publisher is publishing these young adult books and they have a lot of money behind them. So readers know about those books, even if they're not the best books. They're well designed products and they're marketed really well. So if you know that your readers are going to be knowing and searching for those book titles, you want to be writing articles about those book titles so that people can find you. Whoops. So this was just one example of the kind of articles that you can write because you're going to want to, it's hard to just think of, hundreds of article examples. So Tweak Your Biz title generator is just one of many. Let's see if I can find a, it's just one of many online content generators. You see these kind of posts all the time, these kind of, six best things about science fiction, 6 tips of science fiction, 6 tips to reinvent your science fiction and win. Um, they're link bait titles, and people usually don't like them because they're so effective. And what that means is when you see them on Facebook, when you see, the 9 best science fiction of 2015, you'll never guess number 6, or number 6 will amaze you, or this science fiction author did this and it was amazing. There's these kind of titles which you see on Facebook and you click on them because they're just so clickable. You got to find out what it's about. Most of them are actually a letdown because they don't have good content, but the title is enough to get you to click over. And so they're very effective. They work really well. That's why you want to start using those kind of things. So for example, I'd probably pick my genre. So I'd say like young adult paranormal romance or something like that. And then I'll just hit return and I'll get all of these. So believing these 5 myths about young adult paranormal romance keep you from growing. Don't waste time. 5 facts until you reach your... These don't all make sense, so you're going to have to go through and edit or rearrange, but they do get you thinking in the right direction. 5 little known ways, blah, blah, blah. Young adult paranormal romance is changing teens' thoughts about relationships or whatever. You can kind of edit them. You want to make them really interesting, but this kind of list posts are really effective. And so when you start a new blog or website, you want to write a bunch of these really quickly because these list posts, they don't take very long. If you have like 5 things, you want to write an article that's between 500 words and 2,000 words. So with your 5 things, that's like 5 paragraphs on the 5 things, and that's an article. It doesn't have to be life-changing, doesn't have to be huge. what you're basically trying to do is write a lot of articles that have your keywords so that Google knows what you're all about. And if you write really interesting titles, the nice thing about these titles too is that when you post this stuff to Facebook or Twitter, it's just so much more interesting. Most authors try to do stuff where they choose clever titles that don't really mean anything, or they're open-ended, or they're abstract, or they're really short. So they're like breakfast, or what I did today, or just really short things that don't like really mean anything, because they want to focus on the writing. Their articles are really good. They have good writing in their articles, but nobody can find them because they're not using keywords. So this is the stuff you want to start out with. A year from now, maybe nobody will really be finding this stuff anyway, but it's important to start off with a bunch of this content so that Google will start ranking you and knowing what kind of stuff you have on your blog. So I would write like 10 of these immediately, like in a week, and I try to have 50 or 100 of them within a month or two. And again, these are just, these will take you 30 minutes to write. These are just 500 word little articles. You don't really even have to think about them very much, because if you pick titles like this, 5 solid reasons to avoid young adult paranormal romance, like this is a great title. It's a controversial title. I don't have to think that hard about it though, because I have the framework, the structure. All I have to do is copy, 100 of these and make a big list. And then today I'm just going to put this up in my, WordPress theme and start writing. And then I'm going to think about it. 5 solid reasons to avoid young adult paranormal romance. I have to kind of make it up. And of course, I don't want to be too convincing, because I can't tell people to avoid paranormal romance if I'm trying to sell paranormal romance books. But it's a good controversial title. A lot of people will share and forward and click this article just because of the title, even if they don't read your article, which is kind of the cool thing about really nice titles. Because I can put this up on Facebook and people will like it, people will comment on it, they'll share it, even if they didn't read the article. So that's why you want this kind of article on your site, because it's also just good content that's people are going to like and share. And then later I'll show you how we can double down. Once you write articles like this, you can also turn it into an image graphic that's going to be really awesome and eye-catching, which will double your shares and your tweets and your likes. And if you just do that a few times, I mean, if you write your 50 articles, you'll automatically be ahead of every other author in your genre, because nobody else is doing this, or very few authors are. Most people just don't, they say they don't have any ideas, they don't know what to write about. So this is what to write about. This is a very easy, simple thing to do. It tells you exactly what to write about. I'm actually going to use this one because it's a good title. But 5 things you didn't know about young adult paranormal romance. 5 warning signs. You could say that your young adult paranormal romance is going to fail, or that people will hate your young adult paranormal romance. Anyway, these are the kind of things like you want to look through. You can't use them all. You're going to have to edit them, but here's a really easy way to get a whole bunch of article ideas. So all you have to do is write down, 50 or 100 of them, and then just start writing one a day and do it for a couple months. After you've got a lot of content on your site, then you can take it easy, because then you can kind of just share that content and start. Well, even you could write like 10 or 20 posts and then do one a week, but really I try to get as much content up as you can early, because it'll just help you grow faster. And after a year, when you're getting traffic on those articles, you've already written them all, so you don't have to keep writing them long term, because we're also going to take a lot of this content that we make and we're going to put it out in a lot of other platforms. So I'm going to take this one article, maybe I'll do it soon so you can see it, but I'll take this one article and I'll turn it into a PDF, I'll turn it into a YouTube video, I'll put it on SlideShare as a PowerPoint. I'll make image graphics or an infographic and put it on Pinterest. Like, you can use this one idea for one title and turn it into a whole bunch of content to put on a lot of different sites that's really going to bring in the right readers. And and for a long time. Because now when people search for young adult paranormal romance, they're going to find your article. They would never find your website or your book, but there's a good chance they'll find this article and they'll say, wow, that's interesting. Why would I want to avoid young adult paranormal romance? And they'll click on it and they'll read your article and then they'll find the link back to your website. So that's kind of how content marketing works. In the next video, I'm going to talk more about just reusing that content in many different ways, or in the next